Hey everyone, welcome back to the Conscious Corner. Today we're diving deep into one of the most fascinating aspects of Sigmund Freud's psychoanalytic theory, neurosis and psychopathology. Freud's ideas have shaped how we understand the human mind, but what really happens when the balance between our mind's key players, the ID, ego and superego, breaks down? Let's explore. According to Freud, a well-adjusted person is someone who has successfully balanced the needs of the ID, the part of our mind driven by basic desires, and the superego, which enforces morality and social norms. The ego is the referee, trying to keep the peace. It's tasked with making sure the individual behaves in ways that are healthy and socially acceptable while navigating the tension between these two powerful forces. But life is full of frustration. A person who can adjust to those frustrations, who can make and revise plans as necessary, is what Freud considered psychologically healthy. But what happens when this balance is lost? Freud believed that a weak ego can lead to neurosis. If the ego can't handle the demands of the ID, it forces the individual to regress, to retreat to behaviors from childhood. This is when things can get tricky. Let's break this down with a few examples from Freud's case studies. Remember the famous case of Dora? Dora was suffering from hysteria, but when Freud dug deeper, he realized that her symptoms were rooted in her relationship with her father and an unresolved desire for another man. She became obsessed with these internal conflicts, and it manifested as physical symptoms. Part 3. Causes of neurosis. Neurosis often begins in infancy or childhood. One of Freud's key ideas is the primal scene, where the child is exposed to a disturbing sexual experience that they can't fully understand. The resulting confusion leads to fixation, and that fixation can later appear as neurotic symptoms in adulthood. Take, for example, the infamous case of the wolf man. He was haunted by the image of wolves staring at him from a tree. This phobia linked back to a traumatic experience in childhood. Freud uncovered that the fear of the wolves actually represented something much deeper, a fear tied to his repressed memories and unconscious conflicts. Part 4. Neurotic symptoms and their meaning. Neurotic symptoms can show up in many forms. Freud believed that symptoms often had multiple meanings. For example, sexual impulses, often repressed, would manifest in disguised ways. The rat man, one of Freud's most well-known patients, had a strange obsession with thoughts of rats. It turned out this bizarre symptom reflected deep-seated anxieties related to his father and girlfriend. So how do we interpret these symptoms? Freud argued that the symptoms are symbolic, representing the clash between unconscious desires and the defenses set up by the superego. But in the end, these unresolved conflicts leave the individual feeling guilty, anxious, or disconnected. Part 5. Freud on psychosis. Now, let's talk about psychosis, which is different from neurosis. Where neurosis is about the struggle between the ego and the ID, psychosis occurs when the ego completely loses control. It's as if the ego can no longer mediate reality, and the person becomes completely withdrawn from the world. Freud believed this could be seen in patients who experienced extreme trauma, leading them to live more in their inner fantasies than in reality. Closing scene. Freud's ideas have certainly sparked a lot of controversy and debate over the years, but his work laid the foundation for how we think about the mind today. From understanding childhood traumas to the way we cope with desires, Freud's theory of neurosis and psychosis continues to shape our approach to mental health. If you found this discussion helpful or have any questions, drop a comment below. And don't forget to subscribe for more psychology insights.